don't do that in front of me.
For goodness sake, you're paying me all this money to be here. Don't do it.
Good morning, everyone. We are nice and early this morning. Well, that's a lie. We're not as early as I would have liked to have been. I'm a little bit late, but the kids didn't want to go to school this morning, so I managed to send them off with Dad so that I can go straight to the barn. Yeah, so today is the Mary Wanless Clinic, the first day of the Mary Wanless Clinic that we're headed to. We're taking 3 horses. We've got Lachlan, Pongo, and Cosmo. Miss Heather is going to be joining us. We're going to caravan up there. And I'm taking Pongo for Lauren to ride. He was coming anyway, just to get out and get some exposure. And then Lauren said that she would be coming. So like, hey, why don't you ride with us? So I'm excited about that. I'm excited for him to get out and get doing some stuff. Yeah, so I'm just on my way now. I should be there in the next 5 minutes. And then we'll hitch up, load up, and we'll be on our way. All right, we are loaded and we are off. We're a little bit later than what I wanted to be by only about 15, 20 minutes or so. But we're off. We've probably got about, Google says it's 3 hours, but we have to stop for gas, etc. because as much as I love my car, it does everything that I want it to do, the only complaint I have is that it guzzles gas when towing, but I think that's true of most vehicles. So we will have to stop a couple of times on the way. And of course, going slower with the horses in the back really adds usually about an hour onto our trip. So we've got probably about a 4-hour journey. We're just leaving the barn now. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side. Okay, we just made it. We're just pulling in. We made good time. We did it in less than 4 hours, I think, with one stop off. So I'm just going to find somewhere to park and then find out where his stalls are. Probably not going to get a chance to video any of that because, well, it's all hands on deck to unload and make sure that everybody's good. So we made it safely. And I'm looking forward to getting some good riding in. We got to the venue, we got our horses sorted and got straight into lessons. Here is our recap of the 3-day clinic. I hope you enjoy it. Shoot video in and I'm really like pushing down. I'm thinking, push the baby out.
Yeah.
Push the baby out.
Bear down. Man, I was like working so hard to bear down and push and do all the things, and then she's asking you questions, and then as soon as she stopped talking to me, I was like, I get a break, and then she like got after me, and I was like, oh yeah,
I got that on video where she was like, don't do that in front of me.
For goodness sake, you're paying me all this money to be here. Don't do it ever. I was like, okay, yes ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yep. She's so funny.
I have started saying that to some kids though, like, while ever you're on that horse, you're not allowed to sit like this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was a lot of work trying to do all of that though. But I do feel like I finally got to a point where I could keep Cosmos together a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
and get him to keep his head down and not fight against me, shorten up my reins without him going all crazy. But what I did lose was my steering. When I got all of that, then it was like he wasn't using the entire arena. And I just felt like that was the one piece that I'm like, okay, we're going to work on that next time. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, you know, we were kind of, she was saying to me, bear down or something, and I were bearing down so hard that I'm like, there's no possible way I can do anything else.
Yeah.
Right now. Like, I can't trot, you know, because it would take in all that energy.
Yeah. Out of you.
And then I'm just like, how is there any room for anything else? And I guess that's it, isn't it? You've got to get that before
Anything else?
Yeah. What did she say to you with Pongo when I left?
So we were doing the canter. I used my seat and my shoulders a bit too much in the canter, and so she was like, imagine having a carousel pole running like down my head, through my body, through the back of the horse, through his belly, and moving up and down like I would on a carousel, versus like kind of going a little too forward with my shoulders. And so we tried that to the left. And she was like, and it's hard though, because in order for you to do that, he has to have the right canter. But in order for him to have the right canter, you have to do that. So she's like, you've got to eat away at it and like talk him into giving you that right canter, the correct canter. And then you guys will kind of match up. And so we did get it, but I really liked like the analogy of the carousel, and you know, keeping him going, and he got some really nice canter
you like
transitions.
lifting?
Well, yeah, exactly. Kind of thinking about like going like this versus
Going
forward and back.
forward.
But you know, a lot of that for me comes from with Bugsy. Like if I don't use a lot of my seat, which she says not to drive with your seat, and I get that. But you know, if I don't like really use my seat, then he just putters out and dies on you. What I figured out with Pongo that is, I think, really cool, and she told me that was really good like observation, is if I can overpower him quite easily with my bear down, and this is something I talked to Kathy about, so it was nice to be able to feel it. But if I'm overpowering him with my bear down and he starts to dive, if I let go of the bear down and then get it back and then let go and get it back, then he comes back up above the vertical, so he's not diving down and in that much better like spot, you know, where he's not curling. And then I can, you know, bear down again and try and like really work on matching his thrust. It was much better today than it was.
I feel like that's going to be something that I'm going to struggle with, riding him and then having to ride Lachlan, or riding Lachlan and then riding him.
Yeah, because Lachlan needs so much.
So
bear down.
much that I'm naturally going to be. I mean, like if I don't have a six-pack by this time, I don't like.
But honestly, and it's the same with like Doc. So Doc is kind of the same way as like Pongo in that regard. Like he's small, like he's smaller than Pongo actually, and he's now that I think about it, like really easy to do that with. He naturally doesn't curl quite as much, but he had that tendency. But honestly, that's the nice thing about Pongo is having to switch between something you do have to bear down a lot on, like for me, Bugsy, you, Lachlan, and then going to something where it's really easy to overpower him. And then getting that go, get it back, let go, get it back. She also told me, like for my thighs, like when I post up, to rotate my thighs in, and then try and like minimize the rotate out on the way back down.
Okay.
And she was
I
like,
wonder if that'll work to keep them narrower.
to keep my thighs on. And she was like, and the way to think about it too is like, you know, she's like, if you've ever skied, when they teach kids how to ski,
Thesaurus and that.
Yeah, the pizza. And so, because when I was doing it throughout this whole clinic, this is the first time where my brain has been like, oh God, I can't walk. You know, like I don't know what I'm doing. When I was doing that, like rotating my thighs in, it was kicking my heels out. And it felt like I was going like this with my legs the whole time, or my heels.
Okay.
You know? And she's like, yes, that's it. Now try and minimize the amount of rotate out, and it'll help keep your heels stable. Your ankle, she was like, but you want your toes pointed in and your heels out, and making the pizza. And so I envision it now as like his nose is the tip of my pizza slice. But that like 5 minutes of rotating my thighs in is like what killed me.
Yeah, that having just my right thigh on that whole time, and then I was like, I need to go and do something else a minute.
Oh, she wouldn't stop on you. She was like, right thigh on, right thigh on.
And then so I went to left while she sent me away, and then I were able to do it that last time really well because I was just like, I've lost it. Like, I've lost all that point.
Yeah, so what was she trying to tell you with that?
Huh?
What was the point of that she was trying
Because I'd asked her at the beginning, I said, yesterday you said that I'm not narrow enough. So I'd asked her, like, what can I do? She told me to get a thigh master.
I got one from her last clinic. Yeah, you get it on Amazon, $20.
Okay.
It's a Kegel exercise machine, basically.
And then we kind of did, she gave me those exercises, which I've done. We figured that my right thigh is weaker than my left, which is why he's worse going to the right, because he's not got as much support. It just like comes away. So she were talking more about moving him, keeping that thigh on the saddle, not letting it come away while he makes that turn. But that made me feel like I was almost sat off to the left.
You didn't look like you were, though.
No.
I mean, you'll see the videos, but...
So I said to her, so then she said, well, you probably need to bring your left seat back more. So that's what I'll work on at home, because going to the right is a whole lot more unbalanced. I'm just really struggling to separate the upper thigh as much as I need to. Like last time they were a difference, and now, I've kind of just lost it a little bit. But with him, like the more that I work with him, like he's way better today than he were yesterday. The biggest difference from starting all this for me has been that now I can shorten the rein. When I was, she was saying about him coming up, and he literally headbutted Maisie before.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he's literally headbutted her.
Yeah, she was working a lot on Cosmos, like how he sticks his head up, and it was really effective. She kept talking about, how that's his pushback, and yeah, I felt the same way. I was like bearing down as hard as I could. I was like, I don't have anything else to give, and then eventually he would put his head down, but it wouldn't last long, but it lasted longer than it has.
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed is when she was saying to me, when she was talking about the bear down, she was saying, one-way valve or whatever, tucked my tailbone more.
Oh, okay.
And then I got it. Okay. But that could be to do with my saddle, like Ashley was saying.
She did say in the trot that it felt really different, but she was having me really like sit heavy in the saddle to control, because you know how he has a tendency to kind of just like take off in the trot?
Yeah.
And so she had me really like coming up really high and sitting really like deep in the saddle. And that felt different because I feel like I've been trying to be light, when I sit, like we've talked about not breaking the egg and stuff. And it felt very like bouncy. And then he would like stop. And so she was like, you have to find the balance. So that's what we were working on, was finding the balance between like how to control his gait essentially with my posting. But the way that she had me at the bottom of the post felt really heavy. Like I felt like I was down on that saddle,
So we have to find somewhere in between.
I was definitely breaking eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. And then coming up so high, felt like. But I do feel like I got the feeling of posting from my pelvis instead of
more
my stirrups.
From that.
Yeah.
That might be why she were doing it, because that's what we were saying, weren't it? Like sometimes she goes over, maybe to get the feeling, so that with the hope that you'll find somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it was gripping with the inner thighs too. And she was saying, keep it like like you're wearing a harness and you're not sitting in the saddle, and you're coming forward and down,
And controlling the down though. I heard her say that to somebody else. You have to control the down so that you can get the up.
Yeah.
Right. And that's even what she had said to you, like when I heard her saying like, don't, because she at one point commented on you hitting down so hard, right?
Yeah.
Like lighter, like trying to get you deeper and heavier, but also staying light at the same time, right? Like,
like what does that even mean? When I hear you say that, I understand it, but like if somebody else heard us talking, they're going to be like, what in the hell?
So sit heavier but stay light.
Yeah.
So break eggs but don't break eggs.
Break eggs but don't break eggs. Stay suspended but keep your seat like Velcro.
And really, I think at the end of the day, for
and water wheel.
for you, it's like, yeah, it's like the Velcro piece, right? So like keep your butt in the saddle hair longer than like what you think you need to.
So maybe it's not sitting heavier, maybe it's touching longer.
That
makes sense.
You're touching longer, and it's like, it's like you're peeling yourself off of it instead of like thinking about it that way, instead of going like,
It's
as
like
soon as you touch it,
placing yourself down like that.
Staying there longer. Because she's like, you're touching the saddle like it's hot. Like you're touching it and you're going right back up again.
Okay, got ya.
So I think that there's Velcro on your saddle so that you're landing and you're stuck for a second, and then you're going up.
But not necessarily landing harder, just staying longer.
Right. And I think that's why you started to post and land harder. And then she was like, wait, lighter. like just staying down there a second longer.
And maybe that's why he was stopping, was not because I was staying longer, but because I was putting too much pressure on the downward motion.
Yeah. And it is, honestly, it's a really hard thing to feel, because I did that with Bugsy at the last clinic with her for a bit, was like staying in the saddle a bit longer. And I'm like,
is that to control the tempo?
Yes. That's what she was telling me, yeah.
So kind of like the hesitating.
Mm-hmm.
Hesitate for a second before you go back up.
Right. And then on the flip side, stay in the air for half a second longer than you think you need to.
So that I've taught people. I don't know if I mentioned that to you, but I've definitely taught people that.
One day later.
We got back super late last night, so I ended up leaving my trailer. I've still got that to clean out. This morning, I'm back at it. I've had my little vacation. My body's tired, but we're back at it. I had a hay delivery this morning at 7 or 7:30 a.m. So dropped the kids off at school, headed to teach a lesson, move some hay, and then I've got another lesson. If you're liking what you're seeing on our channel so far, which is basically, this is what we do day in, day out. Not always going to clinics. Sometimes it is just moving hay and cleaning stalls. But if you're liking what you're seeing, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe and share with your friends, because that'll really help us get the channel up and running. And until next time, I'll see you later.